Ano ka? A pleasant day to everyone. Welcome to Webinar Series 1, Protocols, Libraries of the New Normal. I'm Lubinario Cortez. It is my honor to be your MC for today's event. For everyone's information, we are celebrating the LIS Month Library and Information Services from November 4 to 30 by virtue of Presidential Proclamation Number 837, Series of 1991. November is the Library and Information Services LIS Month. The celebration focuses on engendering public awareness of the invaluable service that libraries and information centers render. For the year 2020, the theme of the 30th commemoration is Librarial, a portmanteau for the word libraries and the acronym for Relate, Engage, Advocate, Lead. To officially open this webinar series, may we request everyone to please rise for the national anthem, followed by a doxology.
Let us put ourselves in the holy presence of God. Father in heaven, always merciful and giver of life, we humbly ask that you bless each one of us, from the speakers, program committees, guests, and participants. Guide us to make better decisions as we incorporate what we will learn throughout this activity. Thank you for the infinite blessings and countless opportunities. Lord, today as we start our activity, may we always be grateful to learn new things. Shed the light of your wisdom and bless each one, especially our speakers, as they will share their knowledge to us. Through your mercy and grace, may peace and utmost understanding shine and dwell unto us. Almighty God, accompany each one and help us concentrate for us to gain more knowledge as we listen attentively. This we ask in your name. Amen.
Good afternoon. Thank you for being here this afternoon. To give the welcome remarks, let us welcome Ms. Maricel M. Orenya, Chairperson of the 30th LIS Month.
Fellow librarians, library stakeholders, and all library enthusiasts. Good morning and welcome to our webinar on protocols, Libraries of the New Normal. We are now in an unprecedented situation which nobody here with us has ever imagined. Because most of us never experienced the previous pandemics that also tilted the world upside down. We call it the new normal, not only in our workplace, but in our daily life. COVID-19 indeed made our life topsy-turvy and forced changes in many of our habits. But life must go on. We need to cope up with the call of times. The library, our workplace, is no exemption. That is why the LISM celebration got this opportunity to present this webinar on information and library-specific policy or rule suggestions to be implemented in the library to keep up with the new normal. I hope everyone learns new knowledge and adapt information about preparing for this pandemic and for you to perform well in your library and help self-esteem and self-worth, especially during this time of uncertainty. I want to thank all the participants and all the resource speakers for making this webinar possible. Of course, to the people behind helping me with this endeavor. I hope all will also participate not only in our upcoming webinars, but also in the other activities of the LIS Month celebration. As Director Adriana says, let's get librarial! Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Maricel Orenya, for the very inspiring message. The webinar will present best practices and safety protocols implemented in the library for patrons, clients, readers, and personnel to keep with the new normal. The major aim of this webinar is to know and understand what are the protocols implemented in the library in the new normal. At the end of the session, participants will able to know the guidelines and protocols implemented in different types of libraries, create and design a compatible arrangement for their respective libraries, and encourage clients and promote library services and products. So ayan, kamusta po kayong lahat? Again, good afternoon po sa ating lahat. For sure, excited na ang lahat sa atin makinig ng mga topic for this webinar today. Ako personally, excited din ako, kaya siguro wag na natin patagalin pa. Let me introduce our first speaker for topic 1, Academic Library. She is an academic service faculty at the LaSalle University Libraries and is currently working as a reader services librarian. She has been passionate LIS practitioner for over 5 years with experience in school, academic, and the National Library. She just recently published a research in the Journal of the Australian Library and Information Association and has presented papers both in the local and international arena. She is not your typical type of librarian and an avid fan of coffee, traveling, and anything in between. Please welcome Miss Ruana Marie L. Flores. Let us give her a round of applause. Hi, ma'am. Good
Hi.
afternoon po.
For a while, please. I'll just, yeah, send my slide. All right. All right. Thank you for that kind introduction, Dars, and good afternoon to all the LIS students, faculty, and professionals who are with us here today virtually. I am Rowana Marie Flores, one of the Reader Services Librarian at De La Salle University Libraries, Manila, and I am here today to discuss some major protocols during this new normal slash COVID generation in the perspective of academic libraries. To begin with, let me ask this big K question. Kumusta? Kumusta po sila? Kaya pa ba ngayong 2020? I know
Kaya.
po, kaya po.
Kaya.
Ang dami kong nakikitang meme, kaya pa ba? Kasi sobrang dami nangyari within 2020. You know, 2020 has been totally a wash-up year, no question with that. A lot of plans, activities, businesses, events, employments have been canceled. And another thing that has been canceled are our travel plans. This should be us last summer. Ready na sana yung pang-OOTD natin for the beach. Ready na yung passport natin and visas. We should be enjoying the cold breeze and the cold water on the beach with our friends and family. But COVID came. Our supposed to be hashtag 2020 travel goals were completely wiped up. But don't fret, my dear fellow librarians, our travel goals are not yet compromised. For today's presentation, what I did is we will have a virtual travel slash library tour in various academic libraries in 4 countries. And of course, a trip will not be complete without an itinerary. So we have here the itinerary of our presentation for this afternoon. This will also serve the outline of my presentation. We will virtually visit 4 academic libraries from 4 countries, which you will somehow benchmark how they counteract the setbacks that they have encountered during this COVID crisis. All right, so at the end of my session, you should be able to somehow benchmark some best practices, of which you can also apply to your respective libraries. All right, now notice that on the last part of our itinerary or the presentation outline, I included a souvenir shopping portion because we Filipinos love to buy pasalubong or gifts after every trip. So this souvenir shopping portion will be the conclusion part of my presentation, wherein key takeaways and then important lessons will be highlighted. And of course, for a disclaimer, the views and opinions expressed on my presentation are those of the presenter and contributors, because what I did in order to provide you this presentation, I interviewed 4 practicing academic librarians and I asked them few set of questions, questions that tackle about how they manage to run their library during this crisis, the setbacks that they have encountered, and what are the things that they did in order to counteract those setbacks. All right? So their views and opinions do not necessarily reflect the organization they are currently connected with. Okay? So no judgment tayo, and please do not conclude ahead. Okay? So allow me first to thank the 4 academic librarians who shared their experience and provided me extra time to share what they did during the COVID crisis. Hindi ko na sila papangalanan for confidentiality purposes, but allow me to thank them. Thank you so much to these 4 academic librarians. This presentation would not be possible without your contributions. All right? So by the way, I will not include their names for the entire presentation, again, for confidentiality purposes. Now, let's go to the meat of the discussion. Are you ready? Can you please make some noise by typing in yes in the chat facility here in Webinar Jam? Let me see if you're all ready. Gising pa ba ang mga librarians natin? Okay,
Gising na gising
Filipino
daw, ma'am.
librarians, make some noise. Type in yes if you are ready to complete your 2020 travel goal kahit virtual lang. Ayan. Yes! Na-feel ko yung energy nila. Ganyan tayo dapat. Kailangan maging masigasig tayong librarian, masiyahin, at attentive as well. Thank you so much for being ready. So, all right, since all of us are set right now, I would like to ask each one of you or guess what is our first destination using these 3 emojis. Kindly type in your answer in the chat facility now. So, saan kaya tayo unang pupunta? Ready na kaya yung passport nila? Ayan. We have here 3 emojis. You have to guess our first destination. Our first emoji is a microphone, followed by a finger pointing upwards, and then the number 4. Wow! Okay, let me see the chat facility. Is your answer correct? Karaoke bar? No. Europe? Australia? Let's see. Let's see po Wait lang. The correct answer for this question is, nauna yung drum roll ko. Drum roll please. It's Singapore. So correct po yung answer ng majority. Hindi po tayo sa karaoke bar, hindi po tayo sa Australia. Okay, so our first destination will be Singapore, or also known as the Lion City. So thank you for those who have participated in this poll. Ayun po, sana next time meron na po tayong prize para mas madami rin sumali. Pero I do appreciate your answer. So for this destination, I interviewed an academic librarian in one of the prominent university in Singapore, and when asked what are the setbacks that they encountered during this crisis, the academic librarian raised these 2 major concerns. First are clients not having physical access to the library, and second, the challenge of how they can reconfigure the traditional library services into the digital platform. Meaning, how can they transform these traditional library services like our reference transaction, over-the-counter, how did they do their library orientation, their IL sessions, which are originally provided in person. All right? Now, this librarian emphasized during our discussion that librarians and libraries should have business continuity plan. All right? Again, librarians and libraries should have business continuity plan in their own respective institution. Aside from that, the library must also have emergency preparedness team to prevent and recover easily in potential threats that might occur. So, hindi lang po dapat Christmas party team yung meron tayo, hindi lang po dapat design team ang meron tayo in the library. We also need to take note to have an emergency preparedness team. Because emergency, kaya nga emergency, you cannot tell kailan sila darating. Alright? So, might as well be prepared to possible circumstances like this crisis that we are facing right now. All of us are not ready, so we are forced to, somehow shift in the digital environment um, without any single guidelines na magagamit. All right? Now, in order to answer or counteract those setbacks, so yung setbacks, yung challenges and problems that they have encountered in Singapore, to contend those setbacks, what they did is, in terms of their collection management, they pivoted to the utilization of e-resources such as ebooks, e-journals, e-zines, or the electronic magazines, which I think most of the libraries right now, especially here in the Philippines, are doing now. Okay, so lahat tayo, we did go to electronic resources. Okay, aside from that, library fines and penalties were waived in order to give peace of mind to the clients. So, nga tayo dumagdag sa mga isipin ng clients ngayong pandemic. We just give them this year to waive the fines. And then, aside from waiving the fines, this particular academic library were able to devise a new borrowing system that they call pick up and go, where clients can actually reserve a book in advance, and then they can pick it up on the confirmed available date. So may ma-receive silang email or text message that, oh, you can already pick up the book that you have requested, go to this date and time, etc. Okay, so this pick up and go service are also called in other libraries as grab and go, just like this one from College of DuPage in Illinois. And then other libraries call this curbside pick up. Okay, so ready na yung books, kukunin na lang for pick up. Okay, now in DLSU libraries, we call this book shoots or book return shoots. I don't have the picture here, but we call it book shoots. And these book shoots, just like this one, it's one way for the Lasallian community or our students and faculty to return the books, drop the books, and go, thereby promoting less human contact. Okay? So you can be creative. So pwedeng hindi lang ganito yung design nyo kasi mukhang ano siya, parang trash can, baka pagkamalan siyang trash can. So please, alam ko na mga creative yung Filipino librarians natin. We can always find a way kahit wala tayong budget. Okay? So aside from those collection management techniques, they also have, for their programs and services, what they did is they partnered with the library peer advisors or LPA. These LPA are basically student organizations, so mga student org siya within the university. And then these students, which are mostly senior undergraduate students, what they do is that they do conduct peer-to-peer support to their fellow students. And then aside from that, they help librarians in touring the new students, the freshies around the campus. And then they also promote the library. Okay? So, yun po yung ginagawa ng library peer advisor. So, in DLSU, we call this LAMS or Lasallian Ambassador. Every start of the term, we do have LPEP, or it's our way to welcome freshies, the freshmen. We do have activities. So as much as possible and as early as the library orientation, we need to let our community feel our presence. Okay, so para this is one good way para maramdaman nila kapag wala na yung library. Alam niyo yung magsisisi sila, mag-regret kapag wala yung library. So one good way to show your presence and participation with the academic community is to actually give time to attend to these library orientations or the entire school university orientation. All right? Now, during this critical period, this particular university provide bite-sized library workshops, which are somehow equivalent to IL sessions or information literacy sessions. Okay? So, bite-sized kasi when you conduct literacy sessions, it's usually 1.5 hours or 2 hours yung pinaka-maximum hours. So, usually, the attention span of the students, hindi na ganun ayos. So, hindi na nila masyadong nare-retain those information that you have included in your discussion. So, what they did is they cut their IL sessions into bite size, and then they highlight how to use databases and how they can, intelligently navigate the information landscape. Most especially now that we are moving into the digital platforms. So we know that digital platforms and online resources is a mixture of good and bad information. Okay? So dito pumapasok yung role natin as academic librarians and librarians in general. We have to educate our community that not all information provided over the internet are good sources of information. Remember the misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. Those are three important issues that you need to consider also. Okay? Now, aside from the IL sessions, the bite-sized sessions, they do also conduct a bunch of webinars and training for the community, such as this one. We have here the waves of emotion in celebration of their Mental Health Awareness Week. Okay? So, hindi lang tayo dapat nagsusupport sa sarili nating activity within the library. We must also find ways to reach out to other offices within the university or outside our university within the community. All right? Now, in terms of their library personnel management, the academic librarian interviewee stressed during our conversation this famous Persian quotation. He told me, Rowana, all fingers are not the same. In the context of crisis, this Persian quotation, all fingers are not the same, this might mean that some people can easily cope, some cannot easily cope. Okay? So the key here is communication. Now, in order to help their library personnel and other staff in the university, their library admin or the library managers strategically planned and conducted various workshops like mindfulness workshops for his or her library staff. Aside from that, they did conduct professional development, including virtual team building. Remember, now we are social beings, and we also crave and look for social interactions of some sort. It's important na kamustahin natin yung mga subordinates or yung colleagues natin within the work. Akala natin they are strong enough, but sometimes at the comfort of their homes, they are hopeless, they are weak. So, yun lang. Let's kumustahin natin ang bawat isa. All right? Now, aside from that, let me go back to the previous. Yeah. Aside from mindfulness and professional development workshop, this academic librarian shared that they took advantage of the help of student assistants. So in university setup, we do have student assistants or SAs. And what they did is they let this student assistant answer reference queries via chat and email. Take note that they are only allowing these students to answer directional questions or yung mga easy queries lang, yung mga madadali lang. But for those complex and research questions, what they do is they transfer na to the professional librarians, and the professional librarians will be the one to answer those complex questions. Okay? Now, in addition to the help of student assistants, he happily shared that there was no retrenchment. So, yay, good news po yun. And in order to protect their safety, security, and health, the university decided to arrange a work-from-home setup. So, pinahiram sa kanila yung computers, and even office chairs, pinauwi sa kanila. Okay? And then, in terms of the library space, all right, for the library space, the academic librarian shared that they regularly sanitize the library. They installed occupancy counters in order to count the number of library clients within their library space. Aside from that, signages and reduced seating capacity as well as service hours were observed as well. Okay? So those are some of the major library protocols that they have observed in Singapore. Now, off to our next destination. So from Singapore, hashtag where to next? Where do you think our next stop will be? So we have here 3 clues. We have here 3 emojis. We have here emojis of 2 buildings and a camel. Where do you think our next stop will be? Kindly type in your answer in the chat facility now. Let me see. Dubai, Egypt. Where else? Korea. May camel pala sa Korea. Next. Okay, Dubai, Egypt. All right. Since majority have correctly guessed our next stop, nice guesstimate. Our next stop is Dubai, or most commonly known as the City of Gold. Now, according to the academic librarian based on Dubai, which I interviewed just last week, according to him, the main setbacks that they came across are the physical access to the library collection and their office files. So, yung office files nila, hindi pa nila nasa-save over the cloud. Most of their office files are still saved on their computer, personal computers in the office. So, isa rin siyang problem kasi what if you want to catalog a particular book or you want to index a newspaper article. So, wala kang pagbabasihan, wala kang gagamitin. Right? So, aside from that, access office files, this was coupled with challenges in delivering information literacy sessions. Number 1 talaga yung information literacy sessions when it comes to academic library. Now, these 3 setbacks were further heightened by anxiety and paranoia given the alarming situation. Siyempre, hindi ka makakapag-work easily habang iniisip mo ano ba yung nangyayari sa labas. So, medyo merong anxiety and paranoia within their setup. Or also, setup din natin kasi unsure tayo ngayong situation na to. Hindi natin alam kung until when this crisis magi-stay or sana mabilis na siyang mawala, okay? Now, in addition to paranoia of regarding COVID and the current global crisis that we are facing, there is an easy situation kasi when you do digital reference transaction, over the counter, you can easily say na, this particular client is satisfied with my service kasi makikita mo nakangiti siya, umalis siya sa counter ng satisfied. But in the digital reference service, you would always ask yourself, am I really giving the right information to my clients? Na-satisfy ko kaya yung need nila? Have I given the right alternative? So those are some of the questions na somehow may isip mo every time you did conduct a digital reference transaction. Okay, so digital reference transaction here includes email. So yung pagsagot sa library email. It can also include yung pagsagot sa chat if you have as a librarian chat facility in your own respective libraries. And also, additional tip, since our clients cannot see us, you can add some emoticons para ma-feel nila yung, para ma-feel na may human touch yung conversation going on between the two of you. Okay? Now, aside from these setbacks, what they did in terms of their collection, they completely shifted to e-resources. Okay? They completely shifted to e-resources, and they are presently not allowing their clients to borrow any physical book. Again, they completely shifted to e-resources, and they are not allowing their clients to borrow the physical book. Alam ko may magtatanong dyan sa inyo, not everything naman is available online. So, paano kung ganun yung case? If that is the case, if a certain faculty or student requested a printed book and do not have any e-equivalent or electronic equivalent for that printed book, this particular university in Dubai, what they do is they scan a certain book chapters only. Okay? Take note, chapters only, book chapters only. Okay? Number one, because of copyright concern, dapat as a librarian, you should be the advocate of copyright and intellectual property. I know may mga guilty librarians dyan na pina-photocopy yung whole textbook or yung whole book. So please, wag na po natin siya ipagpatuloy. We need to support and advocate for copyright. Kasi it's one way of respecting the rights of other people or the authors. So imagine kung, for example, kayo as a librarian, you did publish a book and then malaman-laman mo this particular library, ay, pina-photocopy lang niya, and then ilang copies yon. So ano feel natin? Di ba, syempre, masakit yun on our part. So, starting now, I hope that you will advocate for copyright and intellectual property. Okay? And then, aside from that, fines are also waived, again, to give peace of mind to their clients. And then, aside from collection management, they also come up with new programs. They term their new program as the Virtual Learning Support, or the VLS. This VLS, its goal is to assist and support the various needs of the clients. VLS is basically a form of digital reference service. So this will include email, chat, service, text message, and the use of social networking sites and applications. Notice that the time schedule range from 8:30 in the morning up until 9 in the evening. And then their VLS service is also available from Sunday to Saturday. So nag-expand yung service nila. Okay? And even the time schedule. Now, likewise, they also conduct IL sessions. They make use of WebEx as their main platform, of course, with coordination with the faculty and instructors, plus the production of pathfinders, or what we call LibGuides or library guides. So this production of these materials were increased. So ito LibGuides, this contains a list of resources on a specific field. So for example, if you're doing research about biochemistry, this particular student can just access your biochemistry LibGuides. Makikita ng students yung books, ebooks, and other resources that he or she can use for that particular research. Okay? Now, in terms of the library personnel, okay, the interviewees shared delightfully that there was no retrenchment of staff, which is good, which is a good news. Okay? But there is a temporary reassignment of library assistants or those library clerks. Okay lang naman yun kesa matagal. Though, usually, this particular academic librarian told me that it's clerical work. Related pa rin naman siya in the library. So, what they do is they scan that particular library clerk. They scan some documents of other offices. So, not bad. Okay? Now, it has been made clear also to them that their health and safety is always the priority. That's why they are in work from home arrangement. But the academic librarian that I interviewed highlighted and emphasized that the obstacle here is time deviation. I repeat, the obstacle here is time deviation. While work from home can provide us pros, hindi na tayo magta-travel ng malayo kung malayo yung office natin. Work from home can also give us some disadvantages. And I know that majority of you can relate because we are all in work from home setup. And at some point during this quarantine period, we struggled to keep up with the balance between work and life. So work from home is somehow demanding and challenging too. Okay? So pinapasabi po ng academic librarian nito na shout out daw po sa lahat ng library boss out there. Please don't overlook your subordinates. We understand that you are all pressured to of what's happening. So kailangan natin mag-keep up kaya we understand na you're all pressured. And also, shout out to all subordinates or mga simpleng manggagawa ng library na tulad natin. Let us practice more patience and understanding. And boss or subordinate ka man, let us try to draw a fine line between work and life balance. Because as much as possible, we need to take some time off after your official duty. So, kung 8 to 5 yung duty mo, after 5 or 6, make some time for yourself, for your family, for your apo, for your kapatid, sisters, etc. Okay? So, if it can wait, just send the email the next day. I know some who send emails late at night. So, sana ma-practice natin na, if it's not emergency, you can just send it the next day, not late at night. Okay? Now, we are now down to our second to the last destination, which is, can some guess where our next destination will be? Kindly chat your answer using the chat facility here in Webinar Jam. Saan kaya ang next stop natin? This will be our next second to the last destination. Meron tayong clue dito. We have 4 pictures and I am only looking for one word, which is our next stop. Where is our next stop? Let me see. Middle East. Okay. USA. Yes, it's USA, but can you be more specific? I saw New York, San Francisco, California. Where else? USA. All right. Since may nakukuha na ng correct answer, for this portion, we are now going to California, USA, which is also called the Golden State. Now, for this part, I won't be able to share pictures because of some confidentiality issues. In spite of, I tried to inject some pictures from our library para ma-visualize nyo po kahit paano their protocols and major guidelines na fina-follow during this crisis. Now, for the setbacks, when asked about the setbacks, the one-man school/academic librarian forenamed the lack of professional development fund. So, walang budget for professional development, kulang. They can't go to conferences to learn new program, and they were not able to meet with vendors in person. Okay, so na-compromise yung professional development fund nila. Aside from that, this librarian, he additionally mentioned the contention of digital inequity because students may or may not have access to internet. They might have problem in hardware. They may not have computers at home or Wi-Fi's at home. So they have to figure out how to provide technology support for these clients. Okay? So what they did is, as to the new library protocols during this crisis, they were able to implement the following new and existing programs. First is more tech support. Since we are highly relying to technology and digital platforms right now, they conduct training webinars on copyright, ebooks, online teaching, and privacy awareness. These major topics are, I think, one of our major concerns as LIS professionals. Because whatever type of library you are in, we need to educate our community the right way of handling information. So as a librarian and as an LIS professional in general, we have to let our community to understand what is the importance ba ng copyright. What is the importance of proper etiquette? When you attend Zoom or when you attend webinar, is it okay ba na naka-open ng video? Is it okay ba na wag na mag-mute? So, our community must be knowledgeable about this. Sa atin dapat mag-uumpisa as a librarian. Okay? Now, as a concrete example, I'll just share what we do in DLSU. So, aside from regularly conducting IL sessions, so every term we do have teaching loads in coordination with the faculty and instructors. We do have, aside from that, we do have this, what we call a specialized IL buckets or information literacy bucket sessions every term. This program is open to whole academic community. And these sessions tackle the use of online resources, so yung mga databases na meron tayo in the library. We tackle how to properly search information, how you can use Boolean operators in searching. And then aside from that, we give them tips on how to find the right information using Google Scholar, how to use reference management software such as Mendeley, and then tips and tricks of online surveys. Kasi di ba, our students now in the university, they will continue to do their thesis and research projects. And apparently, most of them will need to have survey. Okay, so ngayon, online surveys will be in. Yung printed questionnaires and surveys, medyo questionable pa siya ngayon because of the crisis. Okay? So, yan lang po yung some of samples of programs that you can adapt to your university libraries or in your public libraries or school libraries kasi they need to be aware of these tools. They need to be knowledgeable and be information literate, lalo na nasa digital environment tayo. Okay? Let us educate them how to properly handle information kasi sobrang challenging na information landscape natin. There are a lot of things going on over the internet. We have to be worried about it. We have to be intelligent in handling those issues. Okay? Now, down to our last destination. Can you guess where our last stop is based on these two emojis? So you can type in your answer in the chat facility. Ayan, make some noise, librarians. I have here two emojis, which gives us clue to where our next destination will be. Saan kaya ang next stop natin? This will be our last stop for this presentation. Let's see. Saan kaya to? Meron tayong newspaper, emoticon here, and we have an island emoji. Saan kaya itong next destination natin? Let's see. California. Where else? New York. Parang ito yung kanina. Sige. Type in your answer. Let me see if you got it right. USA, California. Any other guess? You have here two emojis. Ayan! Someone got the right answer. It's New Zealand. Okay? So our next stop will be New Zealand. And the academic librarian that I have interviewed for this particular location shared that the major setback that they have encountered during this global crisis was the fast-paced adjustment of their day-to-day operations of the library, because they set up and prepare their library depending on the New Zealand government alert level requirements. So may mga alert levels, doon sila lagi nagbabase. Okay? So doon sila nahirapan. Yung pag-set up ng library depending on the alert levels. Now, how did they cope up or counteract those setbacks? Now, in terms of collection management, they quarantine books in a span of 3 days only. Okay? Aside from that, they increased the borrowing privileges from 50 books to 100. And the same way with other libraries that I have mentioned from Singapore, Dubai, and California, they also waive their library fees, fines, and penalties, and they highly focus on the digitization of library materials. Okay? So ayan, we have here snapshots of their collections while on quarantine. Meron mga signages to inform the clients na these are quarantine and return books. Now, for their library programs and services, the click and collect service, which is the same concept as the pick up and go that we have mentioned earlier, this program has been introduced just recently. Also, they are now offering what they call a flexible service. Ano tong flexible service na to? Flexible service are services that requires courier to send out books or library materials at the comfort of their community members' home address. Okay? So in addition to this, to the click and collect and the courier services, they also provide online support in areas of referencing and essay writing. So hindi yun nawawala, because as academic libraries, we really have to support the research needs of our faculty, of our students, and the whole academic community. Lagi tayong kaagapay ng university, ng school, okay, for their academic endeavors. Now, we have here few pictures of the library. And as you can see, signages and ground markings are visible enough. Madaming signage, ground markings, and then hand sanitizers, dispensers are installed around the spaces. And then, ayan, meron silang plastic dividers or panels. And then, they also have manual and QR code for contact tracing. And then, certain areas are also closed in order to maintain social distancing. Okay, so just an example here, we have here the computer area. As you can see, originally, it can occupy 3 users at a time, but for this setup, it can only occupy 1 user lang. Alright? Now, since tapos na yung trip natin, and Pinoy trips won't be complete without a souvenir, so lagi tayong may kitchen, lagi tayong may t-shirt, lagi may ubi jam sa mga padala natin pa uwi. As a souvenir, here are the personal messages of our fellow librarians from other parts of the world, which can also, it can somehow serve as our key takeaway for this session. So, I asked them, ano ba yung message nyo sa fellow librarians natin here in the Philippines and around the globe. And first message, our neighboring friend from Singapore sends out his message reminding us to keep calm and carry on. It's a pandemic, but this also provided us opportunity for online transformation and most importantly, yung change of mindset. Okay? We might be physically closed, but we are digitally open. Okay? For the second souvenir, we have here a message from Dubai with love. The most essential thing right now, according to this academic librarian, is patience. We really have to be patient enough. And according to him, being patient does not only speak to our own kindness, but it also speaks to all the kinds of work, be it during pandemic or not. Okay, so pang Miss Universe yung message niya to all of us. Now, for The next souvenir, the message that we got. Another sweet message from a Filipino librarian based in New Zealand. This librarian reminds us not to lose hope, but take this opportunity to show our value to our service community. Let them feel our absence. Okay? And then, last note from our librarian friend from Cali. It's going to be okay. Our next challenge is figuring out how we can better support ourselves as we are in full capacity. You know, dear librarians, fellow LIS professionals, this crisis taught us a lot of things. And we sometimes forget to take a breather, to take a rest. Please, my request is, please don't forget to rest. I know that we are all busy in life, especially now that we are in work from home setup. Remember that your job should be your job and it should not consume all of your life. Okay? Please don't forget to live. And then for a final remarks, for further information as to the specifics of library protocol, so if you're interested to know the specifics, ano ba yung dapat na i-take note natin, you can check out these resources from IFLA, ALA, and ACRL. And for further inquiries and discussions, please feel free to contact me through these channels. Once again, this is Rowana Marie Flores. All together, let us transform this pandemic from setbacks to comebacks. I now pass the virtual microphone to our dear MC, Mr. Doris Cortez. Thank you.
Hi. Hello, ma'am. Thank you very much, Ma'am Rowana, for a very informative
Hello.
presentation.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Rowana. Sana lahat may travel goals. Sana all.
You're welcome. Sana all. China all.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Okay, gusto lang po sana nating acknowledge si Ma'am Adele Sumit po, Division Chief of PMED, NCAA. She also watching po sa ating webinar. Hello, ma'am. Good afternoon po. Thank you po sa panonood niyo po sa amin sa ating ngayon sa webinar. Okay, simulan po natin ulit ngayon ang ating next speaker for the topic 2, School Library. She began her professional career in 1997 as high school librarian of Immaculate Conception Academy in Green Hills. She later joined the Lasallian community in May 2000 and held the position of grade school librarian. In school year 2006 to 2007, she was assigned as grade school learning resource center coordinator, a position she handled for 10 years. Later on, she was promoted as head of the LRC and printing office. In her capacity, she oversees the operation of the library, the audiovisual center, production of the school daily information bulletin, and the reproduction of instructional materials and teaching aids. In school year 2020 to 2021, she marked her 20th year in the LaSalle Green Hills community. In 2004, she was invited by the Philippine Accrediting Association of Schools, Colleges, and University to train as accreditor for the area of library and audiovisual center. Since then, she has been active in school accreditation of grade school, high school, and basic education schools in the country. She was awarded the James J. Meany Award in 2016 for her dedication and distinguished service as accreditor in over 25 survey visits. She commits itself to the advancement of the Philippine school libraries throughout her active involvement in the LaSalle Philippine Library Committee and the Philippine Association of the Librarians, Incorporated, where she currently assumes the position as president. She earned her bachelor in secondary education major in library science at the University of Santo Tomas in 1997. She completed her academic requirements for Master of Arts in Library Science from the same university. She is currently pursuing Master of Arts in Educational Leadership and Management from De La Salle University. Her interests include information literacy and children and young adult library services. She has been invited as a resource speaker by different organizations and presented papers in conferences held in the country. She is married with two wonderful children. Please welcome Miss Charito P. Basagre. Happy birthday! Happy birthday po, ma'am. Good
Thank
afternoon po.
you. Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Dario, for that introduction. Sige po. Okay, so while waiting for my presentation to be flashed on the screen, kamusta po ang lahat? I hope everyone is doing well. I hope everyone is safe. After the typhoon, maraming naapektuhan sa atin. I hope everyone is safe. I believe that after 9 months of living in this pandemic, most of us gracefully coped and adjusted well in the new normal. Many of us discovered new skills, okay, such as cooking, baking, planting. Marami ng mga naging plantito at plantita sa atin. Exercising. Marami na din na nahumaling sa online selling and even online shopping. Libraries also has their own ways of coping in the new normal. Some were able to maintain full services in an online environment, while the others modified existing services, and in some unfortunate cases, to complete closure. Yes, it's a sad truth that there are some schools who were forced to close operations due to very low enrollment. And also, even in the public schools, they recorded also low enlistment despite extending the opening of classes to October. So yun po ang reality in school library or in schools and school library setting. Nonetheless, librarians remain resilient and ready to face new challenges each day. So having said that, I wish to give everyone a virtual tap at the back. So, kanya-kanyang tap at the back muna po tayo ngayon. Okay. So, how are schools doing at this time? Okay. Some countries have cautiously reopened schools with mixed results. Others don't plan to resume in-person classes until 2021. In the Philippines, it was ordered that though in-person instruction will be pursued until there is an effective vaccine. So, naghihintay pa po tayo ng effective vaccine bago tayo ulit magkita-kita sa school libraries. According to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, children are less likely than adults to contract COVID-19. Some children infected with COVID-19 appeared to show no symptoms at all. However, scientists say that the prevalence of asymptomatic child cases and whether those cases are infectious is still unknown. While older children between the ages of 10 and 19 appear to transmit new coronavirus as much as adults. So, delikado din po sa kanila. Given this, many parents are still fearful of returning their children to the classrooms, as they are also worried that older family members living with school-aged children are at high risk of infection. The worst case scenario for many school administrators and public health officials is actually the outbreak of the virus after the reopening of classes, because this will also pose danger in the community. Reopening of schools is also very expensive. Health experts have called on schools to guarantee that they should have personal protective equipments, or the PPEs, such as masks and face shields for students, for all students and teachers. Also, they should ensure that they have enough cleaning supplies and other safety materials, including plastic barriers. In addition to that, schools may also need to hire more teachers or personnel and build more buildings or school classrooms due to the required small class size in view of social distancing. Hence, all of this will affect the operating expenses of the schools. Despite these challenges, there were schools that opened as early as July. In our case, our school opened July 2020. So, medyo matagal-tagal na po kaming pumapasok. As the saying goes, the bigger the challenge, the bigger the opportunity for growth. What are the new opportunities for school library services? And it is also equal to saying that school libraries remain essential even in the new normal. Okay? Because, of course, the school library would provide continuous and uninterrupted access to high-quality print and digital resources, access and instruction on the use of e-books, online databases, and other digital resources, support for reading and research, information literacy skills, curated and organized resources to support classroom instruction, technology support, and as a safe space or venue to support social emotional learning. These opportunities shouldn't remain only to ourselves. Hindi natin dapat kinikip lang sa sarili natin na ito yung mga bagay na pwede nating i-offer during this pandemic or in the new normal. As the saying goes, or sabi nga nila, seize the opportunity. Okay? These new opportunities should be communicated to our school administrators. Oftentimes, our administrators doesn't fully understand the depth of the school librarian position. Minsan hindi naman nila talaga alam kung ano yung mga pwede natin gawin unless sabihin natin sa kanila. Okay? Now that we are online, this will become more hazier. Okay? And personally, I also experienced that during the time when we are conceptualizing our new services. So be sure to check in regularly with your administrator, letting them know what kind of activity you are seeing or planning, and how you have been supporting the staff, the teachers, and the students, and what future works are you pursuing. Because at the end of everything, you should get the commitment of your administrator to continue the library services, and of course, to make that happen, provide you with enough funding to continue and further expand your library services. So, at this point, allow me to share with you our journey to the new normal. So, local lang po muna tayo. We experienced the virtual trip kanina with the academic library. So this time, I will be sharing with you our experience in my school. So our journey to the new normal started when our school president activated teams to make proactive responses to the ongoing situation. So, nabanggit din kanina earlier that each school or each library should have a continuity plan or a business continuity plan. We call ours as mission continuity plan. In this continuity plan, it has several areas such as the short-term or immediate concerns that we have to attend to, our medium-term goals, of course, very essential, our health and safety protocols. There's also a team to look into space considerations, technology support, and the personnel. Being a member of the academic department, the library participated in identifying short and long-term concerns as well as medium-term planning. So, ano po ba yung mga ginawa namin? So, probably just like you, during that time, we are anticipating 3 scenarios. First is barangay community quarantine or no lockdown at all, meaning we can still go to our workplace. The second scenario is that the modified community quarantine or partial lockdown, wherein only a few can access our workplace. And the third scenario is the enhanced community quarantine or the complete lockdown. And lahat naman tayo, alam natin kung ano ba yung sinapit nitong pandemic na ito. All of us were forced to complete lockdown in April. So, we started with very small plans lang at the beginning. So, yung plan A namin, we will just waive fines incurred from overdue books. Katulad nga ng sinabi kanina, hindi na natin i-stress ang ating mga library users thinking about their overdue fines or unreturned books. In our plan B, we also take note of since matatagalan bago makabalik sa school, extend the return dates of books and other AV materials in the library system. Okay, so as not to incur any fines. And in our plan C, kung enhanced community quarantine, since natapos na naman yung school year and we are off to the new school year, realign our collection development program to online distance learning. Okay, so our utmost goal at that time is to keep the library open and functional to users through online channels. Fortunately, we have our library website, which is active, and our LMS or the school's LMS, where the library is also included. So how to cope? Of course, you have to take a plan of action. So taking off from our mission continuity plan, we also created our library continuity plan with the following objectives. First, of course, is to keep the workplace safe, whether we are in school or at home. We also took note of review and revision of our existing policies, okay? Assess the collection, reinvent existing services, conceptualize new programs and activities, train the staff, and plan the space consideration or in anticipation of future needs. So just a reminder that if you are creating your plan, you don't just create plans for the library. You should also take into consideration, or you should also align your plans with the bigger plans of the school. Okay, with the bigger plans and priorities of the schools. Thus, it is essential that we communicate regularly with our administrators so that they too would know what our plans are. Sometimes kasi kung hindi natin sasabihin, yun nga, hindi nila malalaman. And kung hindi natin sinabi agad, huli na para maipag-lobby natin for available budget. So always involve your school administrators when creating your school plan or library plan. So reopening the library entails putting in place new normal protocols. Librarians should develop strong communication strategies to help reintroduce patrons to the library and help them adapt to new protocols, policies, and procedures. When everyone understands and agrees on the protocol or on the protocols, library users are able to utilize library services more effectively. Ano-ano ba yung mga protocols that we should take note in our respective libraries? Foremost is the health and safety protocols. Okay, I will not discuss this anymore as this something that been doing in the last 9 months. Okay? So, nandyan na yung wearing of mask, accomplishing the health questionnaire, temperature check, and so on and so forth. Another set of protocols could be made for the personnel or human resource protocol. It was mentioned earlier the importance of self-care. Okay? It was mentioned earlier about the importance of self-care, whereby as library administrators, we should be able to determine up to what extent or what time are we supposed to communicate with our staff. And in the same manner that as librarians then, we should know that if our official time is from 8 to 5, we should be doing our 8 to 5 job. But after 5 o'clock, we should kumbaga parang transform to being a mom or a sister or a friend to other people. So, yun yung importance ng self-care. And then, there should also be protocols for self-quarantining. Okay? Because we should know that halimbawa, meron tayong sakit, na-experience nating sakit, we cannot just go to school or to report to work pag nawalan tayo, pag bumalik na yung sigla ng katawan natin. We have to go through self-quarantine and information sa ating school administrators that we are ready to report to school. We also should have protocols or requirements for returning to work after self-quarantine. Okay? There should also be protocols when availing leaves. Okay? When kailan ba pwedeng mag-avail ng leave? Pwede pa bang gumamit ng birthday leave? Pwede pa bang gumamit ng sick leave? When we are all working from home. Okay? And then schools should also look into cost-cutting measures. Unfortunately, in the Philippines, there were cases that some school administrators opted to go or resort to cost-cutting measures such as work share or reduced work for our employees, and in some cases also standby status or temporary layoff. That is a reality in school libraries here in the Philippines. So it is important that if schools created policies on this, dapat well communicated siya, ang mga ito sa mga employees. And same manner with the library personnel. So there are also protocols or new protocols on collection, development, and access. So since we are going online, most of us are going online, so we have to check if our existing online collection meet the needs of our curriculum. Okay? We should also decide whether we should also decide on what type of online resources to purchase. Should it be just one book, one user only, or unlimited use, unlimited access to many students para ma-maximize yung use? Is it just subscription or perpetual? So we have to decide on those things. Also, we should have protocols or policies to identify the best option for greater access to students and teachers, whether to have it on single sign-on or individual username and password. Should it be published in the LMS, or will the links be uploaded in the library website or in the library catalog? Those are considerations for collection development. Okay. Additional for collection development would be review of resource sharing agreements and document delivery services. Sometimes schools engage with other libraries when it comes to resource sharing. So you have to check on your agreements and document delivery services. Also, review of license agreements with your service providers or publishers. And of course, because we are doing content curation, we have to adhere to copyright, intellectual property, and fair use. So those are for collection development. Now, there were so many webinars that taught us different services, and even earlier, we also learned new services from the different academic libraries presented earlier. So here are some redefined, reimagined, revitalized library services that we can apply in our libraries, or we might be already doing in our respective libraries. Unang-una na dito is the presence of our virtual library site. It is very important that there is a site or there is a link where we can connect to our library users. So it can be a website or a social media account. There's also the online reference service like the Ask a Librarian through chat or email, or Book a Librarian. There's also online meetup. No specific lesson or activity, just a link whereby library users can join and meet with the librarians for reference questions. Okay. We can also have online book borrowing service. There are service providers for this. Online instruction or online library or information literacy skills. We have content curation. We can have recorded video tutorials, document delivery, curbside pick up and drop off that was mentioned earlier. Also home delivery via courier. For the for school age children, virtual book clubs. You can have that in your library. Virtual story times, it can be streamed, live or recorded. You can also have streamed or recorded performances by artists. Dati meron sa library natin, nag-host tayo ng mga ganito. So maybe we can also do this online. Online makerspace activities, and provision of social and emotional learning resources for our students. Okay, so these are library services that we can adopt in our respective libraries. However, we also have to, by the way, there are also self-directed activities that you can do also in your library. If you have a link or if you have a site, you can post an online quiz, a virtual reading challenge or scavenger hunts, posting of activity sheets can be downloadable or fillable PDFs, reading logs, trivia questions, I Spy posters, and the like. So, in a way, kung ano yung meron tayo from our physical library, we'll just transforming them into a virtual, in a virtual context. Okay. But we have to take note of the following protocols for library services. If we opt to have the pick up or drop off, we have to review and understand how to manage incoming books, supplies, and packages. So, yung quarantine for our materials. We should also ensure safe pick-up and delivery of materials to homebound patrons. Syempre, hindi lang yung nanggagaling sa labas ang dapat natin i-make sure that maiko-quarantine. It is also important that when we send packages to our library users in their respective homes, hindi rin naman sila ma-expose virus. Also, ensure that teachers and students have access to vetted electronic resources from home as well as technology needs to access them. So sometimes we curate resources. However, there are restrictions because kailangan mag-sign up, kailangan merong may bayad or yung mga ganong mga scenarios. So we have to take note of those things. We also have to comply with copyright and permissions, especially when we are conducting online storytelling sessions, or if we are curating and posting this in our websites. We should also have adhere to the social media policies of the school. So if we have our own Facebook page, ano ba yung dapat na behavior natin and ng ating mga users in our social media accounts? Okay, so that's also very important. And then ensure the ethical and safe use of technology from home. Okay, so those are the protocols that we have to take note when we talk about our library services. Okay. The next is the protocols on classroom or academic protocols, since it is very essential for us librarians to conduct information literacy sessions with our students. We have to also take note of the existing classroom protocols that our teachers are currently observing. Like, for example, the format of learning materials or modules that we are using. So, dapat kung paano nila pinapresent in the classroom, it is the same way that we present it in our library setup. Okay? We should also comply with the Data Privacy Act. So, especially when we are conducting synchronous classes, we cannot just record or take pictures of our students in our virtual classroom because we might be violating their data privacy. We cannot just collect information from our library users when we post, when we require them to answer Google Forms and other documents, because yun nga, we might be violating their data privacy. We should also observe the protocols for classroom routines, like, for example, checking of yung appearance of the students. If the teachers are doing that, we also do that during our library instruction. Also, the way we dress up, kasama din yun. Checking the behavior, kung halimbawa they are using the chat box, do we have policies for that? Those things we should also take note of. Even the use of official virtual background, if that's required from your students by the school. Of course, in the library or in the library classes, you also have to require that from the students. Checking of attendance, kailan sila pwedeng excuse or kailan sila required to attend the classes. And then, what are the provisions if there are connectivity issues? And last is the security of the virtual meeting room. So, in as much as our teachers are protecting their virtual classrooms, the librarians, when conducting synchronous classes, should also make sure that the virtual classroom is a safe room for the students. Kasi, syempre, my point of reference would be the small children or um, the high school students. If they're exposed to hackers or Zoom bombers, their um, safety will also be compromised. So, important yan natandaan ng mga librarians when conducting synchronous sessions. Now, this is the time to prepare for the future. I know that we will not be going back to the old normal. Hence, we have to further prepare for the future of our school libraries. So these are some questions for consideration when planning to reopen face-to-face learning. Siyempre, nagulat tayo nung March, we closed our libraries. We plan for the opening of classes this year, pero limited or no face-to-face at all. What will happen when we finally resume face-to-face? So these are the questions. Do you need to rearrange library furniture, shelving to accommodate social distancing? So dati meron tayong standards in school libraries, 10% of the total enrollment. Yun dapat yung sitting capacity of the library. So that will not be possible anymore in the new normal. So ano na yung magiging itsura ng library natin? Also, are you currently on a fixed, flexible, or mixed schedule? So will that change? Are we going to allow class visit in the library? So ito yung mga instances wherein our students, our young students will really look forward going to the library with the teacher, or visiting the library during recess, during lunchtime, dismissal time. Are we going to resume to that old setup or have new provisions or new protocols for that? Also, are we going to allow them to browse or to go to the shelves to look for the books that they want to read? So, isa din yun. So, ang hirap imaginin na may library, may school library, pero hindi naman pwedeng magpunta yung mga bata. Although meron namang other ways to do that. Okay, pwede magdala ng mga books classroom, okay, or magkaroon ng mobile library. Okay. I think this was mentioned earlier. Will there be class visits or individual visits? Will the library be open for all students or limited seating capacity? Are we going to require them to sign up or reserve their slot in the library? First come, first serve ba ito? Are we going to allow the library to be used as school halls? Minsan host tayo ng events in the library. Yan. Will there be teaching in the library, or are you going to just conduct it in the classroom? What other kinds of events and programming will you hold in the library when face-to-face classes resume? So those are questions that as early as now, we can already take note of and plan ahead so that when the time comes that we are ready to open our school to the students for in-person instruction, at least we already have initial preparations for them. So um, what is our takeaway from our from this experience? Of course, everything is a learning process. All we need to do is to explore new ways and of course innovate ourselves for the improvement of our library services. So with that, thank you very much, and I will now turn you over to our host, Mr. Dario. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Charito. Um, Ayan po, for our next speaker for topic 3, public library. She is a graduate of Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in Library and Information Science, minor in English, earned 18 units in Master of Arts, major in Library Information Science at the same school at University of Santo Tomas, Manila. She also earned the graduate certificate in Barangay Governance at Urdaneta City University, worked as school librarian at Montessori Filipino Child Academy, Katipunan, Quezon City. For a few months after passing the licensure examination for librarians, she transferred at Angelicum College, Quezon City as higher-level librarian for 4 years. 1999, when she passed the licensure examination for teachers, in May 2002, up to present, she became the city librarian of Urdaneta City, Pangasinan. In 2010 to 2014, she was a faculty member of Urdaneta City University for Bliss Department in 2010 to 2011. She was elected President of Pangasinan Public Librarians Association, convener of PLAI Ilocos Region, and elected as PRO the following year. She has attended various seminars in leadership, management, and in library information science here and outside the country. She was one of the country representative at the 2014 training project as ASEAN Children Librarians held in Seoul, Korea. She is also one of public librarians chosen to join the training of IREX Beyond Access project. She is also one of network Emerging Filipino Library Innovators. She is also been an active resource speaker in library management and promoting best public library services. She was able to transform the image of the city library to a center of excellence, the Urdaneta City Library. Received various awards for exemplary performance in children's library, PWD library, local history section, and electronic library, teach center, and mother tongue creation of library materials. Please welcome Ms. Bernadine Maminta Grabella. Hi ma'am, good afternoon po.
Good afternoon to everyone. Good afternoon. Uh, Thank you for the very nice introduction, Sir Dario. Now, I'm going to discuss the public library's new normal protocols. But before we start, I would like to ask you participants, how many of you are public librarians? Can we see at the chat box? Or can we make a poll? How many are school librarians? How many are academic librarians? And special librarians, special library librarians, and public librarians? Out of the 721 participants online now, I think more than half of it are public librarians. Am I right, Sir Dario? Before we start, I would like to ask, especially the public librarians. Sa Ilocano, we will say, ayan yon. Adatta kayo pa'y ba libraryo? Sa Pangasinan, sasabihin natin, kulaan nyo la, wadan kinid libraryo? Sa mga kapwa ko taga Pangasinan, nandyan pa po ba kayo sa library nyo? Sa mga Kapampangan, no ka rin kayo ngeni. At so kayo rin libraryo? O ibang library na po? O ibang opisina na? Sa Cebuano, asa naman mo? Naana mo ba sa library nyo? Natanong ko po yan because I know many of us in the public library are detailed in the other offices and help in the various activities for the contact tracing during this COVID-19. Minsan na minatanong ako na kasama kong public librarian, bakit kaya ikaw na ilipat sa ibang opisina? Hindi nga daw po tayo kasama sa essentials dahil we were made to close during this pandemic. Kaya, nandyan pa po ba kayo sa inyong mga libraries, mga public librarians? Ang mga school librarians dito sa Pilipinas ngayon, majority of them are naka-work from home or alternative work arrangement. Okay. I am assigned to talk the protocols on the public libraries, and our learning objective first is to know the guidelines and protocols implemented in public libraries in the Philippines. As a librarian, we will be able to create a most compatible arrangement for our respective libraries and design plans to promote and utilize the library collection. I am Bernadine M. Gravela. I am the City Librarian of Urdaneta City Public Library in Pangasinan. You can find our City Library at Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Weebly. So, on March 16, 2020, our President Rodrigo Roa Duterte imposed the community quarantine to all of us. All of a sudden, we were made to stay home. Sa napaka-busy po nating araw-araw na schedule, bigla po tayong nag-stay sa ating mga bahay. Sabi nga ni President, huwag munang lumabas. Baka meron pa nga kayong hindi nabibisita sa inyong mga tahanan. So, as a good citizen, at dahil takot din po tayo sa COVID, tayo po ay natili sa ating mga tahanan. Presidential Proclamation number 922, the State of Public Health Emergency due to coronavirus, the Code Red Sub-Level 2 by the DOH and IATF, Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging and Infectious Diseases, was proclaimed, declaring the state of calamity to the whole country. So the Bayanihan, We Heal as One is enacted. We were placed in enhanced community quarantine for how many months? Later on, we were transferred to modified enhanced community quarantine, the general community quarantine, and now most parts of our country are under modified general community quarantine. Based from the IATF, libraries as part of the Category 4 are closed during the MECQ. During the GCQ, public libraries are also made to close. And now, MGCQ, we are partially allowed to open with a 50% capacity. So, modified general community quarantine, most of our provinces, most of us now are under modified general community quarantine, and others are under general community quarantine. At those times, we were made to close our public libraries. Some worked from home, some opened their online library services, and some are partially allowed at 50% capacity. As announced last October 27, for November 1 to November 30, GCQ are Metro Manila, Batangas, Bacolod, Tacloban City, Iligan City, and Lanao del Sur. And the rest of the country are under MGCQ. What then is a new normal? Ano nga po ba ang new normal sa panahong ngayon? Nasa MGCQ po ang marami and some are GCQ. What then is the definition of a new normal? New normal refers to the emerging behaviors, situations, and minimum public health standards that will be institutionalized in common or routine practices and remain even after the pandemic while the disease is not totally eradicated, through the means such as widespread immunization. These include actions that will become second nature to the general public, as well as policies such as bans on large gatherings that will continue to remain in force. So this definition is based from the IATF Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases Omnibus Guidelines. So, what is the definition of protocol? Sabi natin, we are discussing the protocol. So, the protocol is a system of rules that explain correct conduct and procedures to be followed in formal situations. And we, as public library, it is for the people, by the people, and of the people. UNESCO defined public library as the local gateway to the knowledge which provides a basic condition for lifelong learning, independent decision-making, and culture development and social group. At this time, information is very vital. Kailangan po, lagi po tayong magbabasa. Lagi po tayong manonood ng balita kung ano na po ba ang nangyayari sa deal natin sa ating COVID-19 dito sa Pilipinas. Bumababa po ba? Tumataas ang COVID-19. So, sa panahon ngayon, I think public libraries are most essential because we give the up-to-date information to our community and to our clients, our researchers, our students who are undergoing online learning modules. And we can help them by giving the right information. Librarians in public library are said to be at medium exposure risk because we are open to public. Unlike school libraries and academic libraries, they have a definite clients, which are their students who have enrolled in their schools. In public libraries, we welcome all our clients. We don't decline them. Dati, when I was starting in public library, I often see no ID, no entry. But at some point, we stopped that because not people has their own IDs. But this time, during this pandemic, we are obliged to ask our clients to present their IDs. So the protocols in reopening our public libraries, the legal basis, our basis for our guidelines are the Interagency Task Force, and then the Department of Health, the review to the local laws, local city or municipal directives or ordinances, review of the agency guidelines from local health offices, Center for Diseases and Control. We also need to formulate our policies for the safety of staff and the members of the community. And lastly, and most importantly, the need to sanitize and disinfect our public libraries. So the Interagency Task Force for Management has released the Omnibus Guideline on the implementation of community quarantine. We have this interzonal movement. The public librarians must be very aware of these conditions that the IATF given to us. What is an interzonal movement? It is the movement of people, goods, and services across areas under different community quarantine classifications. So if here in Pangasinan, we are MGCQ. If we have readers from other provinces or other towns that are under GCQ, we have different requirements for them to be able to get into the library and avail of the services. While the intrazonal movement is the movement of people and goods and services between localities under the same community quarantine classification without transiting through an area placed under different classification. So if you come from within Pangasinan and we are all at the same community quarantine, which is MGCQ, then we will not require you some requirements like medical certificate upon entry to the public library. We must also know the most at-risk population for COVID-19 because as public library and as a public office, a government office, we should follow the guidelines released by the IATF. As agreed and as approved by the President a few days ago, 15 years old below are not allowed to go out of their homes, and 65 years old up are not also allowed. Pregnant women and those with comorbidities are not also allowed to go out. So in public libraries, we should be aware that 15 years old and below cannot come to the library. But we could give them services through online. Another guidelines that we are following is the guidelines from the DOH. So the DOH minimum public health standards to guide the development of sector-specific localized guidelines on mitigation measures for its COVID-19 response across all settings, such as but not limited to home, public places, offices and workplaces, high-density communities, food and other service establishments, schools, hotels, and other accommodations, churches and place of worship, and other places, public transportation, and health facilities. So under this DOH minimum public health standards, they have come up with the guide to new normal. If you want to check this out, the link is below. You can check. We only have 30 minutes to discuss, so you can read further if you have any other questions aside from what will be discussed. The vulnerable groups refers to the socially disadvantaged groups that are most susceptible to suffer directly from disasters and health events. This includes senior citizens, immunocompromised individuals, women, children, persons with deprived with liberty, persons with disabilities, and members of IPs, and internally displaced persons and indigenous cultural communities or ICCs, and among others. So they are the vulnerable groups that are not advised to go out in public places. Number one, based from the DOH minimum public health standards, is the administrative control. This refers to the procedural interventions or modifications in policies. So in public libraries, we are made to redefine our policies and standards during this new normal. And then the engineering controls refers to the physical interventions or modifications in spaces or environments. So these are the physical interventions such as setting up a hand washing area in front of our public libraries. We could also put alcohol at the entrance of our public libraries. So these are the physical interventions, the engineering controls. We can put hand sanitizers, dispensers, placement of hand washing stations with alcohol-based solutions in all rooms and communal areas and amenities. We can also place foot baths in all entrances with a bleach solution of 1 liter bleach mixed with 9 liters of clean water. We could also put red marking tapes on our floor to guide individuals to stay at least 1 meter apart from each other, and also the installation of barriers. Next is the protective personal equipment. Upon entry to the public library, so this refers to the protective garments or equipment worn by individuals to increase personal safety from infectious agents. So it is a must to wear our face mask and our face shields. Next, guidelines or ordinances passed by the local government unit. As advised by the IATF and the DOH, LGU must develop counterpart local ordinances to ensure compliance with national directives at the local level. So they have adopted or emphasized the national laws through the resolutions and ordinances or executive orders. So you have to check to your Sangguniang Bayan or Sangguniang Panglungsod or Sangguniang Panlalawigan which resolutions or ordinances are being implemented in your areas. So I will present to you some of the practices that we are currently doing at the Urdaneta City Public Library as we have modified the rules and regulations in the use of public libraries. First, the online appointment, which is available through online via Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We have made our online appointment system because at this time we are 50% capacity. To ensure that you will be welcome at the City Library, we suggest that you make an online appointment. Next, the health declaration is also made available online. This is part of the IATF protocol upon entry of any public places, or especially the contained offices, that you have to submit your health declaration. And this will be your passes if you will be confirmed to get into the public library. Next, the QR code system. Upon your intent of visiting the library, we will also ask you to give your details so that we can produce your QR code. So this can be made online, or if the clients are already here at the public library, we ask them to go online and fill out the form and we generate their QR code. So these announcements are made and posted at our social media accounts. And also, we have made available our catalog online. We have maximized the use of our Facebook page and group, wherein we have uploaded our catalog so that our community members could access and see what are the available materials online. Upon checking from the OPAC online, they could call us, message us, text us, or email us, and inform us on when they could pick up their books. So we have established at the side of the library our book pickup every Tuesday to Thursday. You don't have to worry because our books and other library materials are subject to quarantine, not just for 72 hours or 3 days, but we quarantine them for 9 days. If we have clients from the different provinces or different towns that are under interzonal movement, we request them to bring their medical certificate with 7 days of validity. This is to ensure the safety of our clients and our staff. The usual protocols that we follow is upon the entry, at the entrance of the library, there is a foot bath, there is a alcohol 70%, and we could also advise that you can place makeshift hand washing facilities if you can in front of your public library. We also require everyone to use mask and face shield, and we advise 1 meter distance from each other. Also, a body temperature check is done at the public assistance desk in front of the library, and we have posted different good hygiene and sanitation at our bulletin board that we advise for our clients. We also make use of markings, floor markings that will guide the clients on the flow inside the library. We have also placed staff toys to mark that this place is taken or you cannot stay here because there is a 1 seat apart or 1 meter away from each other. So you can make other creative ways para po ma-maintain po natin ang physical distancing inside the public library. We have also made our isolation box. The isolation box of the different areas, after the client read the book or the magazine or any other material, they are first put in the isolation box and quarantined for 9 days. So this we are not practicing right now. That's why we are quarantining the books for 9 days. But you can also use the UV light or the sterilization of the book materials, which I think is now available in the different library materials or furnitures. The arrangement of public libraries. So because of the pandemic, we are made to rearrange our public libraries. During the time that the Pangasinan is placed in modified general community quarantine, we have to go back to work at 50% capacity, and we have made our library and rearrange them and put some barriers to be able to comply with the requirements. So you can see in the picture, we made use of a bamboo and a plastic cover. And the other one, we took these pictures from libraries abroad. So you can use plastic cover or a bamboo and do it in a creative way. Or you can make use and order acrylic as a divider or a barrier to the tables. We have also observed the closed shelf system because we cannot allow our clients to touch all the books and browse. So before they go inside the library, they will have to check what is available. They could check through their mobile phone online, or we have the public access catalog available in front at the lobby of the library, and they could get the call number of this book. If they are using the online, they can enter the call number of the book that they need, and the library assistant will be the one to give them the books that they need. Our e-government services are made into window transaction. They don't need to come inside the library. We have allotted our window in front for the NBI, PRC, and DFA online booking. So it is only now available in our window transaction area. As a public library, we can see that there are limited of people that can come to the library, and also the children that are not allowed to go out. So we are making our very best to search for many open access resources that we can. Every week at the City Library, we feature online resources that we can see, that we perceive to be useful to our clients, that they can be guided with their research. There are so many online resources available. Other public libraries have also
Resources
launched
that we can
their
see, that we perceive to be useful to our clients, that they can be guided.
Other public libraries have opened their online or virtual reference assistants. An example in the picture is the Baguio City Library and the Manila City Library launching their virtual reference assistants. And also, we have started to scan and digitize the local history collection of our library because we intend to deliver this through online. But we only started with our local history collection. Next, every 2 hours, we make sure that we sanitize our tables and chairs and every time a client goes out. This enables us and ensure us the safety of our clients and our staff. As a promotion, we make use of the social media. As you can see, at first we only have Facebook and YouTube, but then we opted to have our Instagram, Twitter, Weebly, and other social media so that we can reach our clients. So to promote our services, this is an old program, but this is the best time that we can see that this program can be more of use. The e-newsletter, which we deliver through the email addresses of our clients. During the generation of QR code, we have collected many email addresses. That's why our subscriber have reached many of our clients as can now access the e-newsletter. We have also made available our library card or our library passport available online. The library passport application form and brochures are also given to the schools included in their learning modules. The public schools here are having the modular system in learning. So we coordinated to the principals and head teachers of the different public schools, and we incorporate to them and market to them that the students could avail of the library passport online, and we give them a chance to loan out books. Their parents can come and pick up the books that they need, and we also offer assistance for their research. So we have our online library programs such as every Wednesday we have our Aldauti Panagbasa. It is an Ilocano storytelling. Every Friday we have our virtual storytelling. Every Monday we have our reading challenge, or we forward to the messenger accounts of the children through their parents the ebook links that they can read. The reading challenge program will entitle them to win a prize if they have accumulated reading materials. And we have many other online programs. Because of this pandemic, we have started to innovate and shift to online library services. So we have started to feature our online collections, such as our book collection in our fiction area. And this November, in the poster that you can see, we have launched the different online learning library programs such as vocabulary, the house and garden, the beginning reading tutorial, the Matalino, the online learning tips, let's go techie, laughter is the best medicine, and be real, speak your heart out. So this November, This is our calendar of activities. For this pandemic, continuously everyone is saying to wear your mask, wash your hands, keep distance. But I would like to leave you with this. Wear your faith, wash your doubts, and keep closer to Jesus. Thank you and good afternoon to all of you. Mabuhay po ang public librarians.
Yan. Thank you very much po, Ma'am Bernaldine. Thank you very much po for very informative presentation po. And for our next speaker po, topic 4, special library. He took as a product specialist for library management and security solution at Electronic Information Solution Incorporated for 5 years now, also focusing on assessing and evaluating different library technologies for the benefit in introducing and improving the country's library landscape towards the technology advancement. The company is the leading provider of integrated library systems and other library technology in the country. Currently, he is one of the board directors of the Association of Special Libraries of the Philippines and has been with ASLP since 2018. In 2015, he also started his own advocacy movement, the Magbasa Tayo movement, aiming in introduce the importance and building of community reading centers and public libraries in the country. At the same time, he would like to encourage society in building culture of reading and the love for it. Since then, he is able to partner and help almost 30 communities, providing them reading materials and professional assistance in building a library. Please welcome Mr. Kevin Conrad T. Tansyongko. Let us give him a round of applause. Hi, sir.
Hi,
Good afternoon po.
Thank you very
Good
much,
afternoon, sir. Yes, sir. Good afternoon po. Thank you.
Okay, I'll be sharing my slide now. Sorry. Can you see my slide? Okay. So once again, good afternoon, everyone. Maybe I'll not be talking more about what's COVID and what's the effect of COVID, because our three great speaker earlier, like for Miss Flores for academic, for Miss Basagri of school, and then for public library of Miss Gravella discussions, they already mentioned about the quarantine policies and protocols in the library. Most likely, my presentation would be direct on the situations that we are facing in the special libraries, what we do right now, and what we are facing in terms of delivering services to our clientele. So here are my presentation and the protocols of libraries of the new normal for special libraries. So once again, I'm Kevin Conrad D. Tansyongko. I've been on ASLP, or the Association of Special Libraries of the Philippines, since 2018. And this year, I am one of the board of director of the association. And before I go to my discussion, I would like to extend my sincerest thanks to my ASLP family for helping me outline this presentation for this afternoon. Like we have from the UP Manila College of Nursing Library, UP School of Economics Library, the Development Academy of the Philippines, Department of Labor and Employment Library, and Presidential Museum and Library, and other special libraries that we have in the country. So this presentation is possible and more detailed because of their help and extending their manuals and guidelines in the new normal. Okay, points to cover for this afternoon. What are or who are the special libraries in the Philippines? COVID-19's impact to special libraries and the challenges to special libraries, and the new library protocols, and the conclusion to end our great discussion for this afternoon for almost 3 hours now. And I hope our participants up until now are still excited to learn more about our sharing for this afternoon, and at the same time still optimistic and enthusiastic in learning about new normal for this afternoon. Okay, what we wanted to achieve for this afternoon is I'll be providing you tips and recommendation from the special library sector on the new protocols and innovations that you can also adapt to your special libraries and maybe to other types of libraries, as long as it is you can relate it to the services that you offer, and at the same time, upon evaluation and assessment, you can adopt this type of protocol. Okay, according to Ms. Wanda K. Brown, the ALA president, the American Library Association president, libraries are places of learning and connection for all ages and backgrounds. So this crisis has challenged us to work creatively to adapt services while our facilities are closed. So technically speaking, libraries should always be present. Libraries in different sectors and type, and at the same time to different clients and stakeholders that we serve, we must be present. Anywhere they go, may it be physical or online, assisting them and helping them in their research needs and information needs. So what is a special library? Just a simple review. According to the Special Library Association, special librarians are information resource experts who collect, analyze, and at the same time evaluate, package, and disseminate information to facilitate accurate decision making in corporate, academic, and government settings. So technically, in the long run, with the different types of libraries, I think special librarians are the most specific in terms of delivering service and information. So in the Philippines, we have different types of special libraries. Some special academic libraries. These are special libraries within a higher education institution that focuses to a certain college or school. Like for example, if you have a law library, if you have an economic library, if you have a business and administration library, engineering library, and the like. As long as you're focusing to a certain and specific subject that you wanted to assess with regards to your students. Another one, we have the legislative libraries, special libraries in the legislative branch of the government. So like, for example, we have the Senate Library, the House of Representatives Library, and the like. Another, executive libraries. Executive libraries are special libraries in the executive branch of the government, like departments in the government, and at the same time, direct library or services on the president, and compiling, recording, organizing orders, executive orders, and different memorandum coming from the president. And next one would
Recording
be
to, no? 35 minutes.
law libraries, special libraries within a law firm. At the same time, we could also include our judiciary library, like the Supreme Court, the court libraries that we have in every regional trial courts, and the like. At the same time, we have our health and medical libraries, special libraries in the hospitals and medical sectors, and bank and financial libraries, like the libraries in banks, economic and financial sector, and many more. Name it, we must have special libraries in different corporation and in different sectors that you know, like for example, theological for seminary, agricultural, and the like. So we also have the science aquatic, the aquatic library somewhere in region 6, and many more. So this afternoon, what are the challenges that we face starting March 2020 in the Philippines? As what I've mentioned earlier, March 16, when the quarantine starts in the Philippines, and it's on ECQ, and it should be strictly implemented in the Philippines to avoid more positive patients for COVID. Libraries, one of the affected industry or sector. Libraries were closed as a non-essential service in March 2020. And it goes by up to this time that we have GCQ and we have MGCQ following the protocols from IATF. So same thing with you, we in the special libraries was also closed for the meantime. And because this is unprecedented and we did not expect to have it, we experienced some challenges when we received the protocol and executive order with regards to COVID. So the challenges to special libraries, most likely number one is the transition to online services. The good thing, some of our special libraries in the Philippines already transitioned to online services, digitization before COVID came, but not all has been doing so. So there are still some parts of the special library sector that needs to look into a way to transition to online services, because this is the only and feasible way that we can see that we can continue to serve our client the soon as possible. Another thing, collections, ready or not, do we have online resources or only have physical collections? So what are we going to do? Second one, the preparedness of the personnel in delivery of the first month of quarantine. So are considering skills, considering hardwares available at home, considering internet connection if you have, communications and the like. How can I communicate with my clients? How can I communicate with my co-librarians at the office? How can I communicate with my bosses and the like? So those are the things that we look into, how we can transition everything to online, even meetings, collection services, and document delivery and the like. Next would be internet connectivity. It's just so sad that even we are in the metro city, we still have this problem, or maybe a challenge, I can say, not a problem at all. Maybe a challenge to secure a good internet speed. That's why our government are working into internet service providers to make sure that internet connectivity will advance and will be a way could work well, especially this time of pandemic and in the future for the new normal. Connectivity for the purpose that some of our personnel in the special library use their data connection, their mobile data, which most likely would have a limitation in terms of access. So some of the libraries work into installing and getting subscription to internet providers at home to make sure to have a good speed of internet and to assure that we can deliver our client. Another thing, if there are some librarians who goes to the province and then it's hard for them to go back to metro city. So there's a problem, another thing for internet connectivity, and I hope our government, our NGOs, private companies and corporations would help us a lot to improve our internet connectivity in the country. And last challenge would be hardware needed. What if on the day of the quarantine, we forgot to bring our laptops from our offices, or it's our office's assets? We have laptop, we have printers, we have personal computers or PC desktops in the office, but when we close physically our libraries, what we have at home that we can use for our work. So that's one of the challenges that we are facing, because not all has the capacity to have those hardware. So that ends with the challenges that we are facing. And I think with others, it was already mentioned earlier by the three speakers, it's the same with us in the library, in the special libraries. So let's go to the new library protocols in terms of collection, personnel, programs and services, and the library space. And these new library protocols are best practices, tips, and recommendations coming from our fellow special librarians of the country. And I hope it will help a lot to our fellow librarians here in this webinar today. First, let's go to the collections. First and foremost, same with you, we also have some of our libraries in special sector has library fines. But because of quarantine, for due books, we extended it without penalty. And just wait for further notice until when we will go back to the normal library fines. Secondly, subscription to electronic resources are prioritized. So to those special libraries who need to compile or to look and organize and collect more electronic resources, it was prioritized. But take note that not all special libraries collection are available online. That's why we also maintain and continue to select and collect and acquire printed materials that needs to be collected by those libraries, especially in the Presidential Library and Museum. We need to keep all the books necessary for the history and decrees of the president, right? So we need to compile all those things in the library and collect it. The same thing with other types of libraries. If it's a law library, we have printed materials that needs to be kept on our libraries. But the good thing with our law libraries right now, they also have good subscription to different law collections, and our Supreme Court Library has an online digital library that is accessible to all libraries and all users to know more about the collections that we have to their digital library. Another thing, we also opened the idea of online reservation and borrowing of books and per appointment of pick up or through courier. The good thing with our library, some of the special libraries are open, but always to consider the IATF guidelines in terms of minimum of numbers of clients that are allowed to go on the library. That's why online reservation and online appointment is highly recommended, and most likely we can say it should be a requirement before they go to the library and get the materials. And another thing, they can also book. They can also book to courier. Like here in Manila, we have Grab Express, we have Lalamove, and the like, where to get the books in the library, and they need to pay for the shipping fee for the clients. Okay, and next one for the collection, returning of materials through a library book drop. We encourage a library book drop to be stationed in the nearest possible and good proximity in terms of library and on the institution, so that anyone can easily return it with the book drop. Some libraries in the special sector, disinfection and UV light sterilization is done to return library materials, and some quarantine it for 2 weeks to assure that there is no COVID virus within the paper or the materials. Digitizing parts of the collection considering copyright and fair use. You can digitize, but following and respecting the copyright and fair use, and at the same time to make sure that you are legally protected and legally advised, you can ask your legal counselor or in your institution to check on the copyright and what would be the best number of pages, how many percentage, and the like. And lastly, continue in collecting relevant collection to the institution. May it be print or non-print, we continue to collect it, and we continue to make sure that we are bound to the mission and vision of the institution as we are collecting specific subjects in that certain topics that our stakeholders need. Next one, programs and services. Unlike any other types of libraries, we don't have that so much programs in the library with regards to, like, for example, as I've heard earlier, there is a storytelling in the school library and public library. There is library orientation and the like in some. We also have that one, but not that as much as you do in different types of libraries. So we in the special library focus more on online services. We were strengthening the online services because our clients are, I think, more demanding than other types of clients. Because some of our clients, for example, they wanted to get a real-time response to their queries and research assistance requests through email. We should be present in email, telephone, and other means of communication that you can provide to your client. Some answers, as what I've mentioned earlier, should be real-time to satisfy clients' needs. I think some special libraries here on the room would agree with me that there are really a different type of demand with regards to library services and special library. Posters and infographics may be printed or online. So all new library services and program are shared and distributed to all departments and offices through the website, through bulletin boards, electronically, through social media pages, even if it's available. Another thing, document delivery services is strengthened. It could be online through digitization, it could be scanned per pages, and then it could be also by photocopy if they really wanted to have a printed one, because not all clients that we have in the library are they are not too or they don't want the online. They prefer most likely sometimes printed copies. So we still continue to work, but considering IATF protocols and following sterilization or quarantining of materials. Access to thesis and dissertations via digital repository. So some of our special libraries have their own digital repository that's online that can be accessible outside of the library. Some have a full text thesis and dissertation. Some only abstract is available and requests needed to have the full text copy. Personnel. Most likely same with you. Personnel were on a skeletal, scheduled workforce and others in a work from home setup. And I think majority of the special libraries don't have a lot of librarians within the libraries, but we also have our library staff, our library personnel that we need to check into and to schedule properly. And some work from home. Like for example, in my case, I do work at home most of the time, and I only have one day to go to the office physically to do my work. Some personnel were allowed to bring their office laptops, desktops, and printers at home. The good thing when ECQ was lifted and it's go down and slowly going to GCQ, some of the personnel were allowed to bring their desktops, laptops, and even printers at home so that they can continue to deliver. So that's, I think, the advantage of a special library, because we also have subscriptions, online services. Majority, I think, of the services that we do is online. We have alternative and supplemental for online services. So even at home, we can continue to work. So I think within the duration of 8 months, we were able to transition already to the new normal, and we are preparing for the reopening of the new normal library in the future. Some special libraries needs to secure a permit before going to the library physically, and it should be approved and signed by the supervisor or the head. Online meeting platforms were maximized to check our personnel. If you are a head librarian, I would really recommend for you and suggest to check your library staff, check your fellow librarians, check your co-personnel. Maximize your online meeting platforms, like you have Google Meet for free for some time and the like, so you can consider that. Personnel were given face masks and face shield. This is very important and requirement. It's a requirement for everyone. When you go out your home, you should have your own face mask and face shield to assure that you will not be the COVID-19 will pass into you. And please be safe always. Consider your health before anything else, because if you're sick, you cannot serve and you cannot continue delivering your work, right? Surgical masks, gloves, and alcohol are readily available on the receiving counters when you go to the physical library. And next one, the library space. Most likely, library space did not change at all because there's no readers physically in the library. So some special libraries have this opportunity to process backlogs. They do indexing, cataloging, RFID tagging, and the like. That they were not able to do before because of a large amount of number of services that they need to serve their clients when they go to the library. So assisting clients going to the physical library. But now that there is no clients, they have the opportunity to do so. Daily environmental monitoring of temperature, relative humidity, monthly thermo, hydrometer summary, daily calibration of the humidifier, and a regular cleaning of any surface that can be touched is required. Reading area were temporarily closed, and majority has a closed shelf system to discourage clients to go directly to the shelves and let the librarian get the materials that you need. And again, it should have an appointment, online appointment before getting the resources that you need. But if it's online, you can literally go to their website or to their library, OPAC or library system to check what are the available materials needed, materials that you need in your research. The good thing with the special libraries, majority, I can say that we have good library system. We can have a good library OPAC that you can check into with regards to our stakeholders. Okay, so I think that's the most important things that we need to consider and to look into when working to a special library into different types of library. In conclusion, librarians need to continue to be creative and innovative in delivering services in this time of crisis. You have a budget or you don't have a budget, we need to continue to make sure that universal access to information is delivered to our clients, maybe to the general public as a public library, to specific clients like us in a special library, school, and to academic. We need to continue to make ourselves relevant in this time where majority of our services are being delivered online. We continue to serve our clients to the best that we can. And I would really check into you. Kumusta ka? Because it's very important that we librarians who serve our clients are healthy and in good condition so that we can deliver the best services that we have in mind and we have in store to everyone. So I think as the last speaker for this afternoon, virtual hugs to everyone. I am with you in this fight to this COVID pandemic, and I'm pretty sure with the skills and resiliency that we have and the optimism and enthusiasm that we have in mind, we can get through this and we can continue to serve our clients. With that, thank you very much, and you can reach me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube as Ken the Librarian. Maraming salamat po.
Ayun. Thank you very much, Sir Kevin. Marami po kami natutunan. An idea, nalaman for special library in new normal. Thank you very much, Sir Kevin.
Thank you very much.
And ayan, ako, sobrang dami natin natutunan ngayon about libraries of the new normal. Ayan, ngayon po, the floor is now open for the question and answer. Ngayon, randomly po tayo kukuha ng mga question sa ating mga participant. And before that, for our participants, we will send the copy of presentation and the certificate after the evaluation, the accomplishment of evaluation. Ayan po. And due to our lack of dilipat po tayo ng magre-redirect lang po tayo ng room.
Hello po. Kung may nagpapapo sa inyo na for transferring, paki-click po para ma-transfer po kayo sa kabila po. Kasi po matatapos na po yung oras natin. Para doon po panibagong oras po para sa Q&A po natin. Salamat po.